tell the group about a time when you guys, something has happened to you, or you've done something, or whatever the case, that has made you just like terrified. Like you were terrified after that situation, you were scared. Like, come on, share, yeah. Hit the wrong note, okay. I've done that. Okay, who else? Yeah. Hit the wrong chord. Also done that, very terrifying. Walked into the wrong room. Okay.
Wrong bathroom.
Okay. Who else? What's something that's happened in your life that's made you like terrified? That going on a roller coaster? Megan? Like the tower? Okay. Yeah, I'm scared of heights. I can't do that. Yeah. Say that again? Almost fell off a mountain? Okay, that's terrifying. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey guys, it'd be nice if you could hear what everyone else is saying. It might add to your experience. Yeah. Yeah. Say that again? That's terrifying. I would never ride roller coasters again if that happened to me. Anybody else? Yeah? No? All right, go for it. Almost.
They grabbed something like my phone fell. They grabbed it and I flew back and the car was still happening.
Okay, yeah. That's like the first time I tried texting and driving. I look up and I'm in the other lane. I didn't do that again. That was bad. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys about a time when something happened to me and I got terrified and scared. It'll be a little awkward because Haley's in the room because she doesn't like it when I tell this story. You'll find out. Anyways, so we used to live in Colorado for a little bit. And while we lived in Colorado, just kind of some context, Haley is a horse trainer and has horses and stuff. So by like marriage, I ride horses and stuff and just kind of try not to fall off. I'm just there to look good, basically. It's kind of all that I do. Basically, so we're in Colorado and we're out riding with some friends and we're like pushing all these really fat, stinky cows from one pasture to another pasture. And everything's going pretty good. And I'm on this horse that I just kind of bought without Haley actually being there, which looking back was probably not the best idea because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, that horse looks cool. It sniffed me. It must be nice. And, and it's cheap. Let's get it. So we're pushing these cows and we're going and we're walking through some tall grass and somebody's like, hey, watch out for that barbed wire that's on the ground. And I'm like, barbed wire? What are you talking about? And I look down and there's like barbed wire, just kind of like a fence had fallen down and the grass grew up over it. And so there's just kind of, or maybe it was slick wire, whatever the case, it was just kind of laying in the ground. And my horse kind of stepped in it and didn't really realize it until I looked at it. And I immediately looked at it and started panicking. And I'm pretty sure he was like, oh, he's panicking. I'm going to panic. And so he started panicking. And it started like getting all tangled up on his legs. And Haley and my buddy are telling me to just get off the horse. And me getting off the horse turns into me kind of like flailing and falling off onto the ground. And I fall like into the wire, and I'm like, it's like all over me, and I'm like throwing it off, and then like I look at my leg, and I somehow, because instead of like getting off on the side without the water or with the wire, I get off on the side with the wire, and so I look down on my leg, and it's like around my ankle, and I just feel, and also keep in mind it's around the horse's foot, and so I just feel it like tighten on my ankle. And so instant panic mode, and I'm screaming and I'm yelling things, and who knows what I was even saying. I probably don't even want to know. Like I'm going to die. Like I just know I'm going to die. And in my mind, he drugged me like 20 feet. In all reality, Haley didn't like it when I tell it because I tell everybody he drugged me 20 feet. In reality, it probably like tightened and like moved an inch. And then they stopped the horse. But in my mind, we traveled 20 feet and I was going to die. Okay, I was terrified. As soon as that cinched up around my ankle, I was done. My leg was gone. My life was over. Who's going to play on my Call of Duty account? Like, what in the world? I had so much to live for. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to have you guys turn to 1 Samuel chapter 22. We're going to talk about David tonight. And in this chapter, I'm going to summarize a lot because there's a lot of background and context to go through. So I'm going to do my best just to kind of summarize as best I can so that we can move forward to what really the meat is in this passage. And so at this point in David's life, in 1 Samuel chapter 22, David is in the middle of running from Saul. If you know anything about Saul, he was the king, or is the king, and David, ever since he kind of defeated Goliath and has been kind of this prodigy that's come up, and Saul's been like completely jealous and paranoid about David. And so at this point in the timeline, Saul is chasing David because he wants to basically kill him. Like he's done with him. He's trying to get rid of David at all costs. And so David is on the run from Saul. He doesn't want to be around him because obviously he would die. So he's on the run. In the process of running away from Saul, David visits this dude with a really cool name, Ahimelech. Okay? And Ahimelech, basically, David asks Ahimelech for assistance while he's on the run. And Ahimelech gives David some resources out of his town. He gives him a weapon and sends him on his way. And David runs and escapes to this cave where he starts to hide out. So we're going to pick up in 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 11. And basically Saul is hot on the trail of David, and he shows up to Ahimelech's home, and he's like, hey man, why did you help out David? And that's where we pick up. Then the king sent to summon Ahimelech, the priest, the son of Ahitub. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Who knows how it actually is pronounced? And all his father's house, the priests who were at Nob, and all of them came to the king. And Saul said, hear now, son of Ahitub. And he answered, here I am, my lord. And Saul said to him, why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse, which is David, in that you have given him bread and a sword and have inquired God for him so that he has risen against me to lie in wait as at this day? Then Ahimelech answered the king, and among all of your faithful servants is so faithful as David, who is the king's son-in-law and captain over your bodyguard and honored in your house. Is today the first time that I have inquired God for him? No, let not the king impute anything to his servant or to all the house of my father, for your servant has known nothing of this, much or little. And the king said, you shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. So basically, Ahimelech has helped David out before, and there's never been any issues. He's prayed to God for David before, because David is the king's son-in-law, is the bodyguard is the captain of the king's bodyguard. Like, as far as Ahimelech knows, there's no issues going on. And so he's like, why are you getting mad all of a sudden that I'm helping David out? But Saul is so paranoid that he just immediately believes that Ahimelech is committing treason and wants him, David to be the true king. And so he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to kill you. And we see in verse 19, and Nob, the city of the priests, he put to the sword. Both man and woman, child, infant, ox, donkey, and sheep, he put to the sword. So basically Saul goes crazy, kills Ahimelech, kills his family, and destroys the entire city. All because he helped out David. And so now we fast forward a little bit, or we change locations, I'll say, to this cave. David's hiding out in this cave. And this is all happening while he's hiding out in this cave. And David eventually learns, while he's in this cave, that Saul visited Ahimelech, found out that Ahimelech helped him out, and then killed everybody. And this hits David hard because he feels, almost somewhat responsible, I would say, a little bit. But there's nothing he can do about it. He's stuck in this cave running for his life. He can't go home. He can't visit any of his friends, any of his family. He can't get any of his possessions because anywhere he goes, Saul will surely find him. He's on the run for his life. So David is in constant fear. David is overwhelmed. He's distraught. He's on the run. He's in fear. Now, it's interesting to point out, too, that while David is hiding out in this cave, all these other people in the kingdom who are broken, who are poor, who are homeless, who are hungry, they kind of flock to David because they relate to him. And so David is not alone in the cave. He's actually with about 400 people who find out he's hiding out there. And so all these people who are broken just kind of flock to him. So David is hiding out in this cave with about 400 people, and he learns that Saul just murdered an entire village because they helped him out. And so if you guys want to turn to Psalm 142, and that's where we're going to spend the rest of our time. Because Psalm 142 is what David writes while he's in this cave after he learns of this. So David says, With my voice I cry out to the Lord. With my voice I plead for mercy to the Lord. I pour out my complaint before him. I tell my trouble before him. And when my spirit faints within me, you know my way. In the path where I walk, they have hidden a trap for me. Look to the right and see. There is none who takes notice of me. No refuge remains to me. No one cares for my soul. I cry to you, O Lord. I say, you are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Attend to my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are too strong for me. Bring me out of this prison, that I may give thanks to your name. The righteous will surround me, for you will deal bountiful with me. So David is singing this cry out to God because he's overwhelmed and he's discouraged. Show of hands, how many of you guys have ever felt overwhelmed and discouraged? Yeah, high school. Ain't nobody got time for that. Of course, now you guys get to text in the hallways. If we even said cell phone, we got detention. So you guys have it good. So David is at this place where he's like, God, there's nowhere for me to go, nowhere for me to take refuge. Nobody cares for my soul. He's alone, he's distraught, and he's at this point where he's like, God, I really don't know what to do because I've got nothing left. I don't know what's going on, but everybody is against me, and I've got nothing. And I find it interesting that David is surrounded by hundreds of people, yet he still tells God that he feels alone. How many of you guys often feel that way? You don't have to raise your hands, but is it interesting to think that we could be a part of a group but still feel alone when we're struggling with something? And even youth group. We come to youth group and we're part of youth group, but yet I'm sure that there's people in this room who are struggling with something and probably feel like they're in it and they're all alone. I'd be willing to bet. David felt that same way. David's on the run. Everything is working against him. People are dying. His life is in danger. And he feels alone. In 142, verse 6, David tells God that he is at his lowest. It can't get any worse. The bottom's dropped out. He can't get any lower than what he is now. And I would describe that as he's feeling hopeless. When we're at our lowest, we feel hopeless. And being hopeless is just something that I think a lot of people struggle with. I started this new job and I'm learning, and it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. But one thing I've already seen, and I, kind of expected it, was, I see a lot of people every day who have zero hope, who struggle with things that I wouldn't have even imagined and have zero hope. And so they're just on this downward fall with no end because they have no hope. But things are different for David because he has God. And so we're going to dive into how in Psalm 142, David starts out distraught and discouraged, but then he moves to this place of victory. And that's because of God. And we're going to talk about that. But what I want you guys to wrestle with is this. When life has you on the run, how do you find hope? Because David's on the run right now. Life is going completely against him. But yet, he is still able to find hope in God. And we're going to dive into how he does that. So the first thing he does is in verse 1, when it says, with my voice I cry out to the Lord. Is David, when he's praying to God, and I want to clarify that David is, I'm going to talk about this in the context of praying to God. So I want you to just kind of think about that, is communicating with God. Just so it's a little more practical, and hopefully that understand it a little bit better. But David says, I cry out to you, Lord. I pour out my complaint. David verbalizes what he's saying to God. And I think it's important for us to do that, like when we're praying, when we're struggling with something, whatever it is in your life you're struggling with, because you've all got something going on. I've got something going on. It is what it is. But tell God what it is. God knows everything, and God knows that. But be faithful and say, God, I'm struggling with this. God, I can't stop doing this. Or God, this person just left my life, or this person just passed away and I don't know how to deal with it. Tell God. God wants a relationship with you. The Holy Spirit is inside of you. Jesus wants a relationship with you. So talk to him. He's there to talk to. So verbalize it. Tell God what you're struggling with. And I think it's interesting that it's, sometimes in church, and I'm not saying like this church, but church in general and church groups, is people often believe that or act like they have everything together. And the truth is it's the complete opposite. And so you're not kidding anybody or you're not even kidding God by being like, yeah, everything's cool, I'm good. Like, tell God what you're struggling with. Tell God what's going on, because he knows. And with that is David not only told God, but he was blunt and honest with God. Oftentimes when we pray, we pray very generic. And we pray very like, oh, God, be with me today. And I think Pastor Rick's talked about it like, of course he's going to be with you today. He's with you every day. And we pray generic, but David's like, nah, man, he packs a punch with his prayer because he tells God the deepest, innermost like thoughts he's having. My spirit faints within me. Nobody cares about me. I cry to you, God, because you are my refuge. Like, David is telling God how he feels and what he's going through. And so I challenge you guys, when you guys are praying to God about whatever it is you're struggling with, be blunt and be honest with God. Tell him what you need. Tell him what you're struggling with. And while David is praying to God, it's important to recognize that in verse 3, David says, when my spirit faints within me, you know my way. David recognizes something about God. So first, David, he voices what's going on to God. David visualizes it. He explains it. But then thirdly, he recognizes something about God. And he recognizes this, that while David is pouring his heart out to God, while David is on his knees in turmoil, praying to God, he realizes that God has been watching over him the entire time, that God is always in control. I think it's interesting I'm not going to read it, just reference it, but in Job chapter 38, if you guys know anything about Job, he's another dude who comes under fire. His entire family dies. He's a rich man who loses everything he had and literally wastes away to nothing, short of death. And in chapter 38, after all these conversations and all these back and forths and all this, God finally talks to Job. And God says, not directly quoting, but, where were you when the mountains were formed, when the earth was formed, when the sea was formed? Where were you when all these things happened that we know of today? And the answer is, I wasn't. So if you think about it, God's been there since before anything was. And the only reason why we're here is because of God. And David realizes that God is in control. And in John 16:33, Jesus tells his disciples that I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I've overcome this world. And you think about that, Jesus wouldn't say he's overcome the world if he hasn't already beaten everything you would ever struggle with. Everything in your life that would ever try to tear you down or beat you or chase you or kill you or hurt you, or everything you get yourself into that you can't get yourself out of, he wouldn't say that he's beaten that if he hadn't. And so David realizes that in the midst of everything, God is still in control. And God has been there since the beginning. He's going to be there until the end. And because of that, in verse 7 of Psalm 142, David says, the righteous will surround me, for you will deal bountifully with me. David arrives to this place of victory. David moves from this place of grief to this place of victory because he prays to God, and instead of just wallowing in his self-pity and being like, oh God, you hate me, why would you do this to me? He recognizes, okay, God, I'm struggling with this, but you've done this and you've done this, and so I know and I have faith that you're going to do this, that you're going to bring me out of this. David is able to find hope in God because God provided for him in the past. God's going to provide for him in the future. Something I want to challenge you guys with, if you're ever struggling with something and you don't think God's listening or God's going to help you out or whatever the case may be, look in the past. Because I bet you can find some time in your life where you thought the same thing, but some little thing happened that either this didn't happen to you, or God answered, so that prayer was answered. And you may not view it as a prayer being answered, but that's what it was. So I would challenge you to look back into your life and see how God has provided. Because if God provided for you back then, why would we think he's not going to provide for us now? And David knows that God is going to provide for him, and so he has hope in that. The truth is for us today, David didn't have the Romans road and the Jesus died on the cross for your sins back then. Jesus wasn't even alive yet. But that's what we have today. And what is that? That's everything. It's the source of our hope. We find victory when life has us on the run. We find our hope and our victory when we look at what God did through Jesus Christ. And God laid it all on the line for us. He laid everything on the line. He gave up his own son to die for us. And so think about whatever cave you guys may be in life. Because, man, I know when you guys said high school, when I asked being in fear and all that stuff, I know you guys are struggling with stuff. I know. You guys are struggling with stuff that it sucks, Stuff that could get you in a lot of trouble. Stuff that could hurt you. Stuff that's hurting others. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of brokenness. But there is hope. David is sitting in this cave alone, broken because people are dying, because his life is in danger, because he has nothing left right now. And his choice is to pray to God and to believe that God will provide for him. What happens? Eventually God brings him out of it. And God provides. And so we have two choices when we're struggling with something and we bring it to God in prayer. When we bring it to God in general, we have two choices. We can pray to God and we can be like David and say, all right, God, I'm open for you to change my life. I am open for what you have to say. I'm going to be faithful and try to just let you take over. Or we can just stay mad at God. We can just say, I'm not about this life because you didn't give me that and you didn't do this for me. But I would challenge you guys that if you really want to embrace the hope that God has given you, to give it all back to Jesus. God laid everything on the line for you. And so when you're struggling, when you're just going through your daily life and you're praying to God, choose to let what God has done for you change your life. He's provided you all of this. He's given you, Jesus died for your sins so that you could live, so that you could do great things on this planet before you go and, take your dirt nap. We have hope. And now we can bring that hope to others. How exciting is that? Life may suck in the meantime, but we have something to live for. And David knew that. Life sucked for him on that day. Probably that week, probably that month. But he knew he had something to live for. And he knew that God was in control and was going to take care of him. And so I just challenge you guys, as you're running through life, we have hope. And that hope is in Jesus. And if we don't embrace that, life's going to be hard. But we have hope. So what I'm going to do is have you guys break up into groups. I'm going to pass around some papers. We're going to talk a couple questions and everything. Before I do, I'm just going to close you guys in prayer, and then I'll let you guys split up. Okay? Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this evening you blessed us with. Lord, I just lift up all the students in here tonight who are struggling. God, we're all in our own cave. We're all, something in life has got each and every one of us down, and some of us are struggling with how to work that out, how to deal with that. And God, I just pray that you would intercede in our lives, and you would bring us the hope that you've provided, that you would open up our hearts to accept that hope, Lord. And I just pray that you would give us opportunities to spread that hope to those around us who are also struggling, God. And I pray all this in your precious name. Amen.